Marvel's Wolverine is still a mystery, but lately we've seen rumors pop up from alleged playtesters and that they might just give us our first hints at what the game could look like. What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is The Avenger and I know I have not posted in about a week, but I'm coming back with you guys with more speculation videos and more news on Marvel's Wolverine. And a lot more to come. So I'm breaking down all the details we've heard so far, what they could realistically mean, and then heading straight into Speculation Street to imagine how Wolverine could actually play out. Think of this as a mix of evidence and theory, where we piece together the kind of game Insomniac might actually be cooking up. So we're going to start with what actually has surfaced. So according to a handful of reports online, some from forums, others from insiders connected to testing studios, Wolverine has been shown to early playtesters in a limited capacity. The key takeaways were that combat feels heavy, brutal, and very different from Spider-Man. We also know that there is a focus on smaller, detailed environments, not giant open worlds, and the tone is darker, more violent, closer to an M-rated experience than any Marvel game we've seen before. Now, obviously, we'll take all this with a massive grain of salt. Playtesters' leaks can be exaggerated or even fabricated, and sometimes can be lost in communication. So we could hear it from one person, and from point A to point B, and then point B to point C, they tell a little bit of a different story until it gets to point D or E. You know what I mean? So it could definitely be not correct. But look, grain of salt. But if these are like actual hints, and if what is said to be at least mildly true, then they actually line up with what Insomniac has teased back when the game was first revealed in 2021. And this would be a more mature, story-driven experience, which I'm super excited for, and I cannot wait to get my hands on such a, man, I love the X-Men, I love Wolverine, and if this is going to hit into Speculation Street, and that's where we're going to kind of go into now in this part of the video, but I would love to have an X-Men themed game, or like an X-Men themed building of a universe, you know, where we start off with the Wolverine game, and then we slowly get more games, whether that's Wolverine Part 2 or whether that's an X-Men game similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy game where you lead as Cyclops, or they make a better Avengers game but replace the Avengers with X-Men. But if the playtesters are right and it's heavier and more brutal, I think that means that we're looking at something closer to God of War than Spider-Man. Wolverine isn't about swinging gracefully through the city of New York, it's about raw, up-close violence and pure story. That's what I love about Wolverine, is his emotional story, and every time he's put into a story, he's always got an emotional connection between either the villain, the person of interest, whatever it may be. Wolverine is like one of the most tragic Marvel characters in comics. Imagine light and heavy attack combos with his claws, parries against armed enemies, and brutal finishes that leave a mark. Man, I would love to have, like, you know, when you're actually fighting with the claws, you see on their, like, the skin and the clothes, the claws and the marks, man. The leaks even hinted at contextual takedowns, which would make sense, like slamming an enemy into a bar counter or dragging them across the floor with the claws. That, when I'm reading that leak, I'm super excited to see what they cook up. I also think Wolverine's healing factor could be tied into the gameplay. Maybe the screen fades red when he's near death, and you can trigger a regeneration ability, but it leaves you temporarily vulnerable. It would force you to pick moments to be aggressive and moments to recover. This is where Insomniac could really separate Wolverine from Spider-Man. Instead of fluid aerial combos, we'd get weighty, brutal, grounded combat. Now, I'm also thinking, in terms of how, again, more so Speculation Street here, if we're talking about the way that the healing factor would work, I think the enemies would most likely use adamantium swords and guns, which would have the player the ability to actually end up dying, but you do have an ability similar to the focus bar to regenerate your health, like the regeneration ability. But I feel like having those type of weapons would kind of make the story feel a little bit more urgent. You know, like a little bit more toned down. You need to actually get to the pace, get close, get away, jump at them with the claws. Pretty awesome. And now we're gonna go into the world building. Again, this is what I think. This is again rumors mixed with my speculation. None of this is confirmed. We know absolutely nothing about this game, but I think the big takeaway from the rumors is about the world itself. So apparently, again, massive apparently, take a grain of salt, it's not a giant open city like Spider-Man. It's more of a hub-based exploration, which I'm thinking is, as long as it's explorable to an extent, I'm sort of happy with that. It makes perfect sense for a Wolverine game as well, because he's not Spider-Man. He doesn't swing across Manhattan, and instead he's running around forests, snowy tundras, and literally like buildings and whatnot. He's always running around. He's not usually, ideally, in New York. The snowy Canadian wilderness, stuff like that. I believe we're going to get some, in my personal opinion, some Weapon X experiments happening, whether that's flashbacks, whether that's in the snowy Canadian wilderness, where most likely I feel like we'd have some sort of section on that in the story. I reckon we're also going to get a gritty back alley district in Madripoor with neon lights, bars, and underground fighting pits. Kind of seems like the direction that they would go. Maybe even small sections of New York, not as big as Spider-Man's Manhattan, but a dense and grounded one. It'd be kind of cool to see if they do bring New York into the game, more so from the perspective of essentially a regular guy with powers rather than Spider-Man running around web tops. We're in the city as Wolverine running around on foot. It'd be cool to see if we get a motorbike for traversal. I know that there's some traversals that were sort of leaked in terms where he was running around on walls, but at the same time, I feel like having a bike like his Harley Davidson or whatever it may be, it's pretty cool to have in the game as well. These could function like semi-open world hubs where you can explore, pick up side quests, fight gangs, and uncover story lore. And this is sort of how Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us Part 2 built medium-sized levels, linear in story progression, but open enough to feel immersive. I think Wolverine will take a similar approach, and that lines up perfectly with what the playtesters have said. Now, again, I would love to have like a fully open world game because I kind of want to see what the side quests would be like for Wolverine, and if there's going to be collectibles similar to the Spider-Man games, or if it's just going to be a purely story-based game similar to like God of War with small little hints and collectibles around the map. And the next part of Speculation Street we're going up to is the story possibilities. Now, we don't know much officially about the story. We just know that this game is set in the same universe as Spider-Man, and pretty much that's it. It's a Wolverine story, and it's set in the same universe as Spider-Man. But if the rumors about tone are true, then I think Wolverine's story could be very different. My theory is that the game could open up with Logan already being hunted by his past, or even haunted by it in a way. He's trying to live quietly, maybe even bartending or drifting between towns, but his past with the Weapon X program comes back in a horrible way, maybe in the form of mercenaries hunting him down. He has that happen to him a lot in the comics. This is where he's in Madripoor, and for those who don't know, Madripoor is a fictional Southeast Asian city in Marvel Comics, often tied to Wolverine's darker, grittier arcs. If playtesters mentioned more grounded environments, Madripoor would be a perfect setting, full of crime, gang wars, and corrupt corporations. Story-wise, I also think there's a good chance we can see Logan's past experiments with Weapon X as a playable flashback that would give us both a brutal action and emotional backstory. And of course, there's a bigger Insomniac Marvel universe that clearly is being built in a way. Could Spider-Man or any other hero show up in this game? I doubt it's a full crossover, but don't be surprised if we see a post-credit teased, maybe even teasing the beginning of the X-Men, or teasing Spider-Man 3 in a way. Either way, I'm going to be keen to see how that looks, and I feel like the story would be primarily focusing about Wolverine's past catching up to him, rather than him just going around in the wilderness and then finding some bad guys in a way. And to sum it all up, all the playtesters' rumors suggest Wolverine is shaping up to be darker, more brutal, and much more grounded than the Spider-Man games. And if that's true, we're looking at a Marvel game that could feel closer to God of War or Arkham Asylum than anything we've seen before. But here's a question for you guys. What do you want most out of the Wolverine game? Do you guys want to see an open world, or would you prefer a focused story-driven little hubs? And how dark do you think Insomniac will go with the tone? I want you guys to drop your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Marvel games and updates, breakdowns, and theories. And one more thing before I let you guys go, we are expecting a state of play to be announced by the end of this month, and it is expected to show, or heavily rumored to show, the Wolverine game. Again, take that all with a grain of salt, but that rumor is there, so take that with what you will. But that's all from me, guys. Have a lovely day, and peace out.